Okay, so let's get started. So actually, the month of September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and we want to make sure that we are bringing awareness to a topic that is pretty heavy and important. We want to make sure that people are being aware, but also knowing what to do. So our presentation today, Seize the Awkward, it's all about bringing a kind of awareness to those awkward moments, those times where you're trying to figure out what do you do in certain situations when you know something isn't quite right, but you're not quite sure what to say, how to support your friends. So that's what we're talking about today. So when we take a look at Seize the Awkward, I want to make sure that you guys are all aware that it is a public service initiative. It provides tools and support that help people not only understand the value of supporting friends struggling with mental health, but also it provides tips and suggestions for breaking through those really awkward moments in time. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's take a minute to get a glimpse as what it means when I actually say seize the awkward. All right, let's play this.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay, if they seem down.
It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl? You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly.
Seize the awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org. How to know if you should reach out to a friend. Your friend might be.
Okay. All right, so now we know kind of what to expect, what I'm talking about when I talk about those awkward moments. I have a few questions, and I don't know if anybody's really able to provide any answers, and that's okay. We can go through it together. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why do you think people don't reach out to their friends when they sense something could be wrong? Okay. What are some of the reasons why it may be awkward or why people just don't reach out when you get that gut feeling that something is wrong? Okay. Sometimes there's fears of intrusion. Um, I know in the past I've kind of wondered, like, if I'm going to approach a friend, am I going to be worried that they're angry or just feeling uncomfortable? Would I make things worse? I may also have trouble reaching out because I might not know what to do if I discover there actually was a problem. And now it comes down to it can be difficult in a lot of ways, and we will take a look at signs, how to know like what to look for, when to reach out, how to start that conversation, and then what to do after the fact. So, first of all, let's take a look at the signs. Now, I do want to say these are not all of the signs, right? Everybody may have different signs, but these are just some of the universal signs to look out for that may signal that a friend or a peer or a family member is going through a difficult time. They may not feel like hanging out as much. Their mind seems to be somewhere else. They're so anxious they can't relax. They've gotten negative about life. They're not acting like themselves. They're more irritable than usual. They're taking more risks than usual. They talk about feeling hopeless. They're taking more drugs or drinking more, or they could be harming themselves. Now, again, these are just some of the red flags to look out for. It doesn't mean that this has to fit everybody, but just kind of knowing that maybe they aren't behaving or acting in the way that they normally would. Something just doesn't feel right. Okay. All right. But then also social media. Okay. So, what about in social media or through texting conversations? Because I think that's where we spend a lot of our time, right? We connect with people through social media. And so, when we don't see them in person, it's really important to make sure we look at other signs that may show that somebody is going through something in their life, that something is just not right. Um, Maybe it could be something within group chats, with texting, DMs, or even just posting something on social media or simply liking something on social media that kind of shows that maybe things are not sitting right. Okay. All right. So, what do you do next? The next step would be finding a moment to talk. And this could look different for everybody. So, I'm going to give you some examples of maybe some just different ways to kind of set up that situation when you're talking to somebody. But I also want to make sure you understand that it doesn't always have to be an exact situation that you come up with, it could be in the moment too. But sometimes it's just nice to have things planned out because when you plan out things, maybe you feel a little bit more confident in following through. Okay. So, one option, you could always ask a friend to play a pickup game. You possibly could be gaming with somebody and you could casually ask them how they're doing. You could invite them to grab food after class, which would probably be my go to, or coffee. Or you could simply ask what's up in a DM or a text message. So, first, we talk about what might be a barrier to talking to somebody, and we're talking about how to set up this situation. The next step, starting the conversation, because sometimes I feel like that's the hardest part. So now we know we're at the location, we're engaging with this person, but it's kind of like how to pull that trigger, how to decide what to say to get that conversation started. And a lot of times I like to come up with maybe a phrase that I know what to say, that I feel comfortable and confident saying. Um, and even rehearse it. Like I would really encourage people to rehearse. It could be as simple as something like, "It seems like you haven't really been yourself lately. What's up?" It could be, "I know you're going through some stuff. I'm here for you. This is awkward, but I'd like to know if you're really all right." It could just be, "You okay? I noticed you've missed class a few times." So I really encourage you to think about what would be your go-to response or favorite way to initiate a conversation. How would you feel most comfortable initiating that conversation? Okay. So now that we have the conversation going, I want to talk about some key things to think about and take into consideration for during the conversation. I want you to keep it casual. Okay. Think of it as a chill chat. It's not a therapy session. So I want to make sure that people understand you are not required to be a therapist to talk to people. You can just have a chill conversation with somebody. Your responsibility is to listen. Allow them to take the lead. See what they're willing to share. Don't push too much. Um, See what they're willing to share with you today. And remember, it's just the start of a conversation. Avoid offering advice or trying to fix their problems. I guarantee you, they probably don't want you to fix the problem. So I don't even want you to worry about that. You are simply there to support them where they are at in that moment. Let them know that it's okay to feel the way that they feel. Make yourself available, be a friend they can rely on. So even after the fact, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, after the fact, make sure that you're available and that if they want to continue the conversation, they know that you are welcome to do that with them. Make sure you ask open-ended questions. Help them talk, not just say yes or no. So, you could start with a, "Are you okay?" Right? And that's a closed question because they could say yes or no. But you could follow that up with, "Tell me more about how you're feeling. Tell me more about what's going on." Allowing them to provide more of an answer versus just a yes or no. Let them open up at their own speed. And remember, this might be uncomfortable for them too, and they may just start to test the waters. They may give you a little bit of information. You don't need to get everything out from them in one sitting. You can wait until the next time you guys talk, but allow them to open up at their own speed. Don't push. I wouldn't demand answers or force them to say anything they're not ready to share. Tell them that you won't ever judge them. I think that that is probably something that is a big fear for a lot of people. They are afraid that they're going to get judged, and because of that, they may close up. Okay. You want to make sure they know that you aren't there to judge, you are there to support. Let them know that this won't change the way you feel about them. Again, you won't judge. This won't change anything between you two. You just want to be somebody there that is open and available for them to share. And lastly, I would encourage them to also talk to an expert. You don't have to do this alone. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too, but I want to stress that this is not something you have to be alone in. You can seek out support. You can talk to somebody. You can bring somebody else into the conversation. If this is a DMAC student, definitely encourage them to seek out counseling at DMAC. It's a free service they're entitled to use, or you can seek out counseling to find out more about how to support your friend. So what would be the benefits to reaching out to a friend or peer when they seem down or not themselves? I kind of think reaching out, spending time with a friend, it makes me feel like, or it makes me think that there could be form some connectiveness. I can't say that word. Connectedness, and they could lower the risk of mental health problems or self-harm. So you're kind of fostering a sense of community and belonging when you reach out and you encourage people to talk. Okay. All right, so now we've talked a little bit about how to start the conversation, what to do during the conversation, and the benefits of that. Let's take a look at examples of how to not approach, but then also examples of approaching in a very empathetic, supportive way.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff.
That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Okay. So we're at the point where you've seized that awkward moment. You've taken that moment that just didn't feel, you had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. You started the conversation. You're very aware of what to do, how to support that friend in need. But then now what, right? Now we've had the conversation. What do we do after? Okay. So first of all, don't give up. Maybe the first attempt didn't go well. Maybe they just weren't ready to talk. Show your friend that you're there for them. Stay available, keep checking in. Even if they don't accept, it's important to keep offering because it still helps. You know, rejection, I like to think of it, it's probably not personal. Let your friend know that you're there for them. You may be the only person they talk to about this. Show that you care, avoid gossiping about them or turning people against them. Handle their trust with care. So that gossiping piece, I really don't think that anyone would take that to a malicious level, but really be cognizant and aware that your friend trusted you with some very sensitive information. And it may be tempting to want to bring the rest of the friend group in. And maybe in some cases that would be appropriate, But you also have to wonder, is this person going to continue to trust and open up to you if you are just sharing their information just throughout, whoever is around or their friend group? So you want to be very aware of that. Get some outside help so you don't have to do this on your own. Like I said before, if you need to talk to somebody, that is fine. Find somebody who you trust. Okay. Don't be afraid to reach out for help. It could be a parent, it could be maybe even an instructor, it could be a counselor, it could be an advisor. Find somebody that you trust to get their opinion, and they may refer on to somebody else, like more of a professional, but don't be afraid to reach out to somebody and get some support from somebody you trust. Okay. Take care of yourself. So this is a lot to go through, and I want to make sure you're providing self-care for yourself as well. That could mean whatever it means to you. How do you take care of yourself? How do you recover from something that feels emotionally heavy? Maybe it's playing sports. Maybe it's playing a video game. Maybe it's about reading a book or becoming very consumed in your studies. Find ways to be able to care for yourself, and again, talk to somebody when you feel like you need support. Okay. I also want to make sure we touch on when is it appropriate or necessary to get somebody else involved. Okay, let's go back here. So I do want to say you should never put yourself in a dangerous situation. Your safety has to be number one. So if your friend is experiencing any of the following issues, it needs to be brought to the attention of a trusted adult or somebody who is professionally able to support them. That could be a parent, a school counselor, somebody that you trust. So if a person was actively talking about self-harming themselves, harming themselves or somebody else, that would be a clue to make sure you provide somebody else, you bring somebody else into the picture. This is not something that you can be responsible for all on your own. Maybe they are not functioning in school or basic life activities. Maybe they're not eating. Maybe they're not sleeping. Maybe they're not providing self-care. That would be a strong indicator that maybe it would be a good idea to bring somebody else into that conversation. Maybe they look like they're really disorganized, and that's not a normal thing for them. Or maybe their thinking seems really different than what you're realizing or what you've noticed before. Things feel very disorganized in their thinking and behavior. Okay. So the last part of our workshop today, I want to bring in Billie Eilish, and she's a very strong advocate of mental health support, and she has a really strong message to share.
When you think of your mental health journey, what comes to mind?
What a question. I think when people hear, remember to take care of your mental health, they think that everyone else is, and that's not at all accurate, For me, I'm trying to learn still to make sure that I stay okay, you know what I'm saying? But I just answered like 40 questions in one.
That's great.
It doesn't make you weak to ask for help. It doesn't. It doesn't make you weak to ask for a friend, to go to a therapist. It shouldn't make you feel weak to ask anyone for help. And you should be able to ask anyone for help. And everyone has to help someone if they need it. Starting that conversation, you don't have to make it super serious right away. You say, how are you feeling? Like, are you okay? That's what you say, are you okay? Ask somebody. That's what they, and yeah, I'm good. Really? Are you actually good? Like, sometimes you don't even have to say anything to someone for them to know they understand. And they don't have to say anything to you. Sometimes it's about a hug. It's about somebody holding you and telling you, not even telling you anything, that's what I'm saying. Holding you. The main thing I'm trying to say is that you should keep your ears open and you should listen. And I'm just dealing with it how I'm dealing with it, and I'm trying my best. Obviously, I'm not a trained professional in anything. I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But I I have seen it, and I've been it, and even if it's just a little bit more comfort, that can really mean a lot to someone, because you don't know what is going on. Even in that moment, there could be something going on, and it's been like that for me. There have been certain people that have texted me right when I needed to be texted, you know, saying they loved me and that they were thinking about me, and it really means a lot. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you can get more information at seizetheawkward.org.
Okay. Okay. So again, we really encourage everyone to reach out for support. I want to make sure that you're aware of a very supportive, I guess, resource. 988 is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Understand that that is answered 24/7. And I would encourage anybody who is struggling with mental health to use 988. But also, if you're somebody who's supporting a friend or a family member who is going through a mental health struggle, okay, I would encourage you to reach out and maybe find some different ways to be able to support. So 988 can be a support for those who are actively going through a mental health crisis, but they could also support people who are trying to support other people going through a mental health crisis. So definitely 988 would be a great resource to use. I also want to point out that as a DMACC student, you are entitled to use counseling services at DMACC. So each campus has a counselor available, or you can request counseling support through My DMACC. There's a student service support form to fill out, and we would gladly support you best way we can. Okay, so I think that wraps up our workshop for today. Essentially, when it comes down to it, be there for your friends. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. Trust your gut. Know that something probably is going on. Test those waters. Find those awkward moments to be able to just step in, ask how they're doing, find ways to support them. And remember, biggest thing, all you have to do is listen, okay? Listen and be there for them. Continue to be that person that they can turn to. All right, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you. And yes, thank you. Do you want to stop the recording?
I sure can.